Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. All right, headed to Sunset's Target. And I know I gotta be back here by 4 o'clock, so I'm pushing it. I probably am. It's already about 11:50, something like that. But I figured I could go to the closest Target, but 9 out of 10 times I go there, they don't have what I'm looking for when it comes to the specific kind of turkey meat. When I went to that Target, they had it in full stock. So it's like 9 out of 10 times I'm making that trip for nothing. So I figured, hey, let's just turn this into a whole day thing. Hopefully it doesn't rain on my head, although it looks kind of questionable that it may. But I figured, hey man, it's New Year's Eve. This will give me an opportunity to make a New Year's conversation out of this thing, get a good bit of exercise, and just happy to be at the end of this year, man. So I figured this would be a good year-end wrap-up type of therapy session that I could use to walk all the way down here, man, and do my thing, So yeah, man, this is a good day. Very good day thus far. Not worried about too much in regards to the struggles in my life. I am aware that the enemy put something in front of me. Of course, one last jab for the year, which is that bank fraud bullcrap, which does put me in a position to maybe not get my bank card in time to pay these people on Tuesday. The bank card should probably arrive on Tuesday. Now they told me it would come on Monday, but who's delivering anything on New Year's Day? So I just think that the enemy put that in place for me to stress about, or for me to have some static so I can't pay them on Tuesday. I think that's exactly what is there. But I don't really find myself stressing about it. I prayed about it this morning. The Lord told me everything's gonna be good in regards to that. I believe him, just like I always do. And so we push forward in regards to not worrying about it. I don't care for that's concern right there as it pertains to how I'm gonna be able to access my bank, or rather get my cash. The card is already activated digitally, the new one that's coming. I took care of all of the stuff that was otherwise necessary to do. So that's just what it is. The bank card is on the way. If they want me to wire the money to the owner tomorrow, or rather Tuesday, if my bank card ain't here, it shouldn't be a problem to do that. I'm pretty sure my uncle will make sure the money's there, whatever's needed, to pay them off. He's always on time. So that part, the money is there. The question is, if I can't access the cash by noon on Tuesday, will they give me any problems up here? And I don't think they will. I honestly don't think they will. So my track record with them is excellent as far as paying them on time. I ain't had a moment where I ain't paid them on time. I ain't had a moment where I ain't checked out on time. And I've been here now for what? This is going to be my 4th month. Since September 1st, since my mom's birthday, basically. So yeah, man, I'm pretty confident that that'll work out. And so I let God handle that. But this has been a hell of a year, man. I think everybody knows that. If you've been following me, you've seen it. You've watched me go through it. And I was thinking about things that I had forgotten about, like purchasing my table 3 days before being evicted, and then turning around and giving that table to my boy T. I'd forgotten about the table. I had forgotten, and this is gonna sound kind of strange, but I had forgotten that my fridge had broken, and that I lived without a fridge for the first half of the year. Forgot about that. Like I equated my eating that way to me being allergic to everything. So I was eating like peas, and not peas, but green beans and corn and rice, because I couldn't refrigerate nothing. So that's how I was eating. And of course, I had oatmeal and bananas and apples like I do still. But I didn't look back on that too much to say, I didn't have a fridge at all for like the first 3 or 4 months, maybe 4 or 5 months of this year. All the way out, I had purchased that damn fridge, but they never showed up, and they actually never delivered it. So yeah, this has been a very tough year. I look at that and I kind of laugh. It's like, bro, how did I even forget about that? I literally forgot about that, bro. And then just the anxiety of having the paperwork delivered to my house telling me they were evicting me, knowing it was coming. because I hadn't paid anybody, but also knowing it was being delayed by almost a year, so I didn't know when it was coming. But they eventually evicted me, and that was a whole grueling situation. That was only going to get worse throughout the course of the year. It was only going to get worse because after I was evicted, then I had to go through this. So, you know, this year has been by far the toughest year of my life. It ain't even close. With respect to 2016, when I lost my mother and my father, at least in those circumstances, I knew my mother was ill. She had been ill for a long time. We knew it was going bad. And not only that, but we also knew that in a situation with that came, you know, I had a job, I had the car, access to the vehicle was there. So all the stuff that needed to happen for me to be okay was in place until after she had passed. And when that happened, my grandmother decided she was going to sell the unit, but I was able to find a place rather quickly within that. So it was more so worried about being homeless rather than actually being homeless. Planning to be homeless rather than actually experiencing it. So, you know, emotional things, grieving and things like that are extra difficult. But I can tell you it's a different thing when you have to actually go through not knowing how you're going to live, where you're going to live, not knowing where your next meal is coming from. I can say I've experienced both, and this is harder for me. This is just harder. It just is, you know. You have to physically and mentally do things. You got to structure things a certain way so that you can secure things in your life rather than just deal with yourself. When people pass away, you got to deal with yourself. It's like, this hurts me. I'm sad. And you lay down and you deal with it however you do, or you cope with it however you do. It's miserable. But it don't require you do, even if you're able to cope with these things, if you're homeless, you still got to move around. You got to deal with it. You got to call them. You got to do this. This is harder, man. I'm not going to lie to you. And I know that's going to hurt some people's feelings, but this year was harder, man. And it's just what the experience has been. And then just dealing with all the dietary stuff that I, you know, tell y'all I've been struggling with. Trying to, you know, the whole Karen situation and how I was perceiving that and having that dependency. Some of the denial issues I was in. Buying the table in the first place knowing I was likely going to be evicted was just denial. But, you know, it shook me out of that. These last 5 months, it shook me out of being in any type of denial. It made me address my mental health. It made me turn to God and stop being so fearful. You know, there were times in this year I wanted to end my life because things were so tough. And I overcame it with faith. And then I overcame it with family, you know. Family making sure that what otherwise I was worried so much about, they were able to fund and take care of. And it was just about me caring enough to follow through on what options were in front of me. And so I did. I took care of a lot of things that required my attention. You know, getting my mental health straightened out, praying every night and praying in the mornings, turning away from things that I needed to turn away from to purify my spirit, so to speak, so that I could be more aligned with God, spend more time with God. You know, making certain sacrifices, not buying certain things. Sacrifices that I had been making some in regards to holding my shares over the last several years. I had been not buying certain things, not paying certain things, but not fully following through on what was necessary to be as responsible, taking care of my own self. I was trying to hold those shares, but I was still smoking weed. You know, this year made me quit smoking weed. Didn't necessarily want to, but by way of necessity and the maturity of what was needed so that I can have the money last longer, I had to quit smoking. And I think I'm proud of that, you know. Still love weed, but don't need it. A weed shop right there. I ain't stopping there one time. Not one time in this whole time I've been here. I was certain I would too. I was telling y'all when I first got here, hey, yo, I'm gonna probably end up spending $40 on weed. I never bought any weed on this side of town. It just never came to that. I never thought that made any sense. And to be honest, the last high I had was horrible. The last high I had was filled with jitters, anxiety to the max, and then ended up having a horrible dream, I think that night, one of the worst nightmares I've had happened that night. So it was like, you know what? I'm cool on weed for a long time. If ever again, really. I'm just, my breathing has already been bad enough. Trying to deal with other aspects of my body doing, stuff, whatever it do. And so smoking only made it worse. And so for me, it was like, I'm quit that, move in a different direction, and put myself in a position to where if I move away from those things, maybe I can be a bit healthier. And so that's really what it is, man, trying to be healthy in a situation that provides a lot of stress. And with that stress came an understanding that you can handle your stress better, It takes stress being dealt with a certain way to help you understand that you can. And that's what I was doing, dealing with it better. With more faith and less substances. And that's something to be proud of, if you ask me. Judging by how far it's taken me thus far, I'm plenty proud of that. So, and then the whole Karen situation, having perceived that so wrong and having so much of my mental health pointed in the wrong direction with that, and the Lord helping me understand where I went wrong, helping me reset and then further understand, helping me let go of certain things and then sort of embrace a new way of going. And now it's like I have the same problem, but I don't look at it even as a problem. I have solutions to that. I have understanding now. I have an inner peace in God that allows me to move without that need for her to reach out to me or me to hear from her, any of that. The Lord just helped heal me in that way, and I don't even need that anymore from her at all. It's just I'm in a different space. And I'm still happy to hear from her. He didn't allow me to invert that into some anger toward her or anything like that, or shutting her out when she wants to call or talk. He just helped me heal and use good energy to do that. And then on top of that, everything that has happened this year with the Palestinian situation has desensitized my mind in ways and made me look at some real problems to help me understand how small my problems really were. Throughout the whole time I've been in this situation, that's been going on. And so it's like, all right, I understand now. That's part of it, Lord. That's part of it. You want to more or less help me understand that all of my problems ain't the worst sinner thing in the world. I've been through what I've been through, but you're showing me what real suffering is, and you're showing me by way of how they're handling that suffering what true faith is. So that's matured me quite a bit. And just watching that from afar and just having that be aligned parallel with my own struggles to where, I don't know if I'm going to spend the night in this house today or if I'm going to be able to get my room here or if I got to spend the night in the hostel. But meanwhile, while that's happening, look at what's in your phone and going on IG and those people and how they're going through what they're going through and what they're being put through, and look what the enemy's trying to do to them and the various different things. It's like, so as I handle what I handle, the Lord shows me something significantly worse. It's consistently every day while I'm going through this. And as a result, I'm going through it, seeing the images that you all are seeing if you're following what I'm following, and how that's, been horrible every day for 87 days now. You don't give yourself an opportunity to feel as bad about yourself. Oh, woe is me, I'm in this space. Every day I look at my phone to see people doing a hell of a lot worse than me. And while that's not something to be celebrating, it is something to help you understand that you ain't got no right to be so upset. You can be upset to a degree, but not nearly as upset as otherwise you would be if that weren't going on. So it's helped me stay out of my own head as it pertains to, things are bad but not so bad. And the example of, as I said, how they're handling that through faith. It's like, look at that man praying. Look at that man standing firm. Lost everything in a half, but he's still standing, still praising God. Look at these people holding each other up, trusting one another, and all of these different things. It's like, that's an example to keep going. A real one for me, especially given the fact of what I'm going through and how I'm going through it. So it's like, I ain't got to sit down and lose my faith when I see real people applying real faith to real situations. So it's been so much in regards to that that's just aligned me more so with the Lord, aligned me more so with my best version of myself, to say, ain't no time to be slipping, ain't no time to be relaxing, ain't no time to be sitting back sad about stuff. Don't have time for it, because at the end of the day, if you look at what they're going through, it ain't like they're doing, so they don't have the time for it. If they have to keep moving, so do you in your circumstances, and use your voice to bring light to their circumstances, while simultaneously seeing how the enemy's trying to silence everybody who is, you know. It's just a lot of things that came together to help me understand this year wasn't just about me, it was about what the Lord wanted me to do, you know, what his intentions was upon my life and how I was supposed to move. And look at all the things that came against me for doing so, all the frustration that came my way based on how things was going. It just became a situation where I just said, you know what, I'm standing firm in whatever comes my way. I don't care what it is, I don't care how bad it looks, I don't care how raw it feels, I don't care what I got going on. At the end of the day, look at what they're going through. I owe it to myself and to them and to the God we believe in to be better in regards to how I'm viewing things and how I'm handling things, and not just feeling like I'm doing enough just because I've done so much, whatever that may be in my mind. You got to do more. Stand firm. And then the Lord helped me understand where I wasn't applying him. I wasn't believing in him in certain areas. When it came to them shares, I didn't believe in God like I needed to. I was praying to God to help me do what I was intended of doing, but not really necessarily letting him do what his intentions was upon that subject. Trust God here, but not there type stuff. So he helped me handle that, giving me coping mechanisms for failures. If things don't work out, like how do I handle this? Well, this is how you handle this. You pray first, this, that, and the third. You let God in and then let him handle it from there. And so it's just a lot of different things that I know how to handle differently now that I've gone through what I've gone through in this situation. Trusting God in certain new areas, letting him into my heart in new areas. And, you know, just it's a bunch of stuff that the Lord did this year, man. I came into this year, oh boy, I'm exiting a man. Even though I'm this old, it didn't matter, because a lot of times people age on their own timing. You may be 38 years of age, but that doesn't mean that you've aged in such a way that makes it so that you're the most mature person you're going to be. I was not. I had some good traits. I had some strong traits. I was strong in some areas, but I hadn't found the strength that I was looking for, or the strength that I was ultimately going to be found. I didn't have it. I thought this, I thought that, I thought I knew, understood this, that, and the third, until I went through this. Then it helped me get stronger, to the point where it's like, yo, I had to start looking for strength. I wasn't praying for strength. I was praying for all different types of things but strength, when what I needed was strength. So this year I learned to pray for strength, to get it and obtain it and appreciate it, you know, in a different type of way than I was raised to, I guess. You know, my mother gave me a lot of things, but one thing that I wish I would have gotten was the understanding that strength is something you have to ask for and appreciate and maintain. I mean, if you don't, then your weakness will make you stronger. You can go through things that will make you stronger, whether you like it or not. And so that's what this year did. It made me strong. It made me value strength. It made me ask for strength and seek it in a different way. And I value that, man. I look for that going forward, no matter what. And you just look around and just see yourself getting better based on the things that the Lord has put in your heart to understand. Now it's like, okay, I want strength. I'm looking for wisdom. I'm looking for happiness. I'm looking for all of this, but I'm looking for strength more than anything in the world. Now, more than anything in the world, give me that strength to coincide with what it is that's best for me. I ain't just looking to be made happy. I'm looking to be able to cope with what otherwise is not going to be found in happiness, where happiness will not be found. Things can get better. Things can get worse. What's going to make me strong? And so that's what it's done. Going through this with all these different things this year. I go into this next year with not only strength coming from what I've gone through, but a value for strength that I never had before. So that's what it is too. So it's moving in different directions at this point. It's like we don't just sit back and say, Lord, can you please make things better? And if you can, I'll be happy. It's, Lord, can you please make me better? So if things can't get better, it'll balance itself out. That's the difference between what I was on and what I will be on going forward. So yeah, man, that's what it is. God is helping me this year do some things that I probably should have been doing all the last several years of my grown adult life. Looking at things a certain way, saying, you know what, it can get better. I will get better. Regardless if it do or not. You know, if that person wants to be in my life a certain way, great. If they don't, I can't be trying to perceive it however way I would, just to make myself be able to palate it. Maybe you don't get answers for certain questions of people's behavior. Maybe you don't know why a person gonna do what they do. Maybe they do decide to betray you or whatever the case may be. Maybe you don't get what you're looking for from them. It's on you to be cool and to maintain your energy regardless of what it is they're doing or not doing. And how do you do that? Strength, faith, and trusting God in that particular area. Don't forget to trust Him there where it comes to those folks not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Whether it comes to what it is you're looking for or not coming your way, you still got to be in a position to strengthen yourself whatever way you can, so that when you are getting betrayed, so when you are not getting from them what you're supposed to be getting from them, you move in a direction that allows your energy to improve, and you win the battle against the devil. And so, yeah, that's what I have to say about that, man. The Lord is just helping me understand how to cope with myself, how to cope with the energies around me, whether they're good or bad, ugly, indifferent, stupid, whatever the case may be. How to ignore what needs to be ignored, how to embrace what needs to be embraced, and how to stand firm on 10 toes at all times, regardless if the world around me is shaky, regardless if people are wanting to believe in what it is that they see, or otherwise believe those who tell you not to believe what it is that you see. Because it's a lot of that going on. People pretending, acting like what they do is fine, acting like what they do is not judged by the same measure that everybody else is what they're judged by. It's a lot of that going on in 2023 to end this year. And so for me, it's just like I stand firm. I know my eyes see clearly. I know my God is already proven. So whatever it is that people are doing or not doing, it's irrelevant. I'm going to stand firm in what I'm doing. And that's the strength that I've been looking for. You know, to not be swayed by culture, to not be swayed by others, to not be swayed by the shakiness of danger or whatever it may be. But to stand 10 toes down, especially as it comes to standing up for what you believe in. You see the world and all this propaganda machine working double time, try to get people not to talk about what's going on in Palestine and Gaza and all of that. Make you try to silence everybody who speaks up against it, and then try to shun you. I saw something on YouTube that shook me a little bit. I'm sitting there watching some basketball content, and all of a sudden I see a propaganda pop up, you know, as any other commercial would when they buy ads on YouTube, and it says something along the lines of, "Stop ignoring the truth. Hamas killed babies and women." And I'm sitting here like, what the hell? I'm watching basketball content and that's the commercial? Like, that's the commercial. And you just understand, like, this is how far people are going to lie about what it is they want to do that they shouldn't do. They will buy commercial ads to push that propaganda, scolding you for seeing the truth in the evil that they do. I was highly amused by that, if nothing else. Like, y'all really bought YouTube ads to scold people for holding you accountable for trying to eradicate an entire race of people and send them into the desert? And you think that's fine? It's like, and you want us to think this is fine, and it's never going to happen. No matter how many ads you buy, we've already seen the truth. Now, once the truth is in our eyes, your propaganda is null. And I think they're kind of lost when it comes to that. I think they can will us toward believing their lies. And that is not how the human mind works. At least not in this country. Not in this country. We've had way too many eye-opening artists and eye-opening individuals and real conversations in our lives to not be coerced into unlearning or unseeing things. I don't know what type of sorcery they're engaging in when they think they could try to, you don't believe what you believe, you didn't see what you saw. Like, I don't know where that works. But when you have a relationship with God, it definitely does not work, no matter where you are. And so I don't know what, like, the stuff that's going on in this year, that's basically what I'm saying to you. The stuff that I'm seeing this year is stuff that has only been talked about in the Bible. Like, the type of sorcery and evil that people engage in it's different right now. Like, yeah, you see evil on the street, people doing all kinds of stuff around, but like the stuff that's being done propaganda-wise, now that they've been seen for what it is that they do, now that the credibility of the media has been shot to hell by this specific thing, now it's like they're trying to get us to unsee what we've already seen. They're trying to will us as if they can stare us into some type of hypnotism or something. It's like, too late, buddy. Too late. We see. You can't now apply the lie after the truth has been revealed. And so to see the world engaged that way, to see those who I've been watching all my life try to tell me who's good and who's bad behave that way near the end of the year, it just helps me understand why that relationship with God is so important, because there's nothing they will stop it. You will either believe their lies, or they will do everything they can to keep you in a space where you have to question whether or not you are saying, based on everything everyone they have control of, agreeing to what it is that they're saying. And it's like, that's why you stand 10 toes down in your faith. Like, you can't tell me something like that. I've already seen what Hamas actually is about. They are a resistance to the terror that you apply to the lives of the people around them. They are a resistance to you, the terrorists, Israel. Like, that is who they are. And so as you try to tell me anything, I know you're coming from a place of evil. You're fighting for the right to do evil in many ways. And you are torturing people who I'm watching you torture for 87 days. And you've been doing it for 75 years. And you're doing it in the name of something that ultimately is insanity and blatantly in need of great psychological help. You need to help yourself. You need to help yourself to some help, is what I would tell all those people who engage in that nonsense. Not trying to get us to believe your lies, but to understand how crazy you look to all of us. And so that's really what it is. They used to get in their way. They used to doing things the way that they want to do them, no matter what. They used to people being okay with what they do because they're so afraid of them, or so intent on keeping what they control upright within their lives. You know, I don't want them to take my money away. I don't want them to take away my opportunities and money. I don't want them to take away my jobs. I don't want them to kick my kid out of school, so I just let them do whatever they want to do, because they're in control of all that. And now it's like, man, I don't give a damn how much you control. You've ruined your credibility. That only worked when people didn't know you were as bad as you are. Like, now that we know you're as bad as you are, we understand that you need to not be in control of any of those things if we ever want to have the type of lifestyle that ultimately is sustainable. Because your actions are going to not only deteriorate your power, but it's also going to deteriorate any standing from which you have control over those things in our lives. Those things are at risk based on your behavior. We would align with you when we thought you were a responsible leader. You may have did some things nefariously, but we didn't see how that equated to some psychopathic intention upon taking land and destroying people. Now that we know you've done that, or that's what drives you, you're no longer credible for us to keep turning a blind eye, nor do we think you can hold on to what it is that you otherwise control in our lives. And that's what they need to understand. And are failing to. Like, we know that you are moving in a direction that's going to fail you based on how demented your psychology is in regards to what you're doing. Even though you have control over everything and have hidden this psychology from us, now that you've shown us you're nuts, we know you're crazy. And that's exactly what Israel needs to understand, man. We know you're crazy. Now, whether or not you are self-aware in the presence of being all controlling and all of this is irrelevant. We know you're moving from a space of imbalance. And so that, my friends, ultimately is one of many reasons why people ain't going to stop speaking on what they see here. This Palestinian support is only going to grow as we continue to see what it is that ultimately they do that doesn't add up to anything at all but destruction of human beings and not caring anything about children as they're suffering. I saw a little boy yesterday. His whole femur was poking through his skin, blood everywhere. The worst thing I ever seen. The leg was broken and poking through his skin. And I'm telling you, that Hamas YouTube commercial was essentially supposed to tell me to forget what I just saw there. And they're telling me that Hamas, whoever the hell they are the ones actually killing children, when I see this child whom they hurt right there for my eyes to see. In such a way that I'll never forget because of how traumatizing the image actually is. On top of the other thousands of traumatizing images I've seen over the last 87 days. And they think that a few words on a screen in between some content that I'm watching on YouTube is supposed to make me forget that, or supposed to scare me into thinking that it ain't happening, and I need to question my own sanity and not the sanity of the people who did that to their child. Make it make sense. And then you got people who are warped by that psychopathic propaganda, trying to have arguments with people, and the only thing they come up with is the word blame. Don't blame us. It ain't about blame. It's about stopping what the problem is. I don't care who to blame. You need to understand that blame ain't the end all be all. It's just what you have been warped into thinking is the end all be all. It ain't the actual circumstance. Circumstance is how we stop these kids from dying. Blame is what ultimately is a psychological thing that you must absorb when people are coming at you, holding you accountable for what it is that you've done. You have to absorb that blame based on public opinion, but that ain't the talking point that you need to be worried about. And it certainly ain't the talking point we need to be worried about. So for all of those who are sitting there saying, don't blame us, blame Hamas, I don't damn about who to blame. These kids still dying. It's not about blame. It's about effectively stopping it from happening. And if blame is going to get us there, cool. But if blame ain't going to stop it from happening, well, what value does blame hold in the conversation? Their propaganda is remedial. It's remedial. What they've applied to these people thought, you got to be stupid and have been enriched in this your whole life to even not see that it's stupid. You know what I mean? Like celebrating the death of children and stuff, dedicating bombs, bursting to people that you love. Like they've effectively touched your heart with something that is no doubt meant to destroy children, destroy human beings. They have their sentiment wrapped up in the effectiveness of eradicating others. Like that is a psychopathic thing. And their entire get down is basically psychopathic in nature. Like psychopathic. And we're supposed to be arguing with people like this? No, they all need therapists. They're all crazy. They need to be in straitjackets. The whole lot of them. And sit up here and have a conversation with me about blame. Don't blame me, blame Hamas. I don't give a damn. You're the ones killing them. You agree with that, right? Well, yeah, but we're only doing it because we're trying to kill 3 Hamas members. You're going to kill 20,000 people to get 3 people, and I'm supposed to look at that math and say it's fine? And the only thing you have to say to me is don't blame me, blame the 3 people? You're a nut job. That's obvious. And that's obvious to everybody who's watching you. You're not a credible person from which to argue with. You're somebody that we say, okay, buddy, and back away from slowly. That's all you are. I don't fear you. I fear what you're going to do based on your instability. There's a difference. And so that's what I have to say to the whole lot of these Zionists, Israel wannabes, not real Israelites. That's why they don't call themselves Israelites, because they're not real Israelites. They're the new Israelites. And then you want to say you're Jewish. No, you're not. You're people who are putting on Jewish hats, pretend to be Jews. You're not Jews. What you are is evil people who have an agreement to be psychopathic in regards to what it is your culture is. That's what you are. And they have a lot of power because a lot of people have their vested interests caught up in you continuing to do what you do. Otherwise, they would have all of you committed because that's what needs to happen. Save the damn world, to be completely honest with you. So yeah, man, that's what I gotta say to Israel, man. I'm not afraid of you, bro. I'm afraid of what you're gonna do because you're crazy. Just like anybody else is crazy. And shout out to the good people in Israel who are fighting against this, who they're literally trying to put in jail, terrorizing them, framing them, all kinds of stuff they're doing to their own citizens who are awake to the psychopathic energy that otherwise they engage in. Psychopathic propaganda that's been placed upon their people. They turn their own youth into complete psychopaths, and then you find out that those who don't enlist in the IDF are ultimately sent to jail repeatedly. They're going to enlist you. If you don't go, they send you to jail. And then when you get out of jail, they may enlist you again. And if you don't go, they send you back to jail. So every last one of these IDF soldiers, by way of that, you got to look at them as slaves. And I know we talked about how slavery and being listed, drafted into the army is not equivalent. It is not. But we're not talking about slavery. We're talking about just the art of being a slave. I'm not trying to compare it to the culture of entrapping African Americans and African peoples. No, we're talking about just the blanket understanding of what being a slave actually is, which is not having control over your own body. Having control over your own future, not having control over anything that otherwise has to do with you. Not the culture, the specific and demented culture that white supremacy applied upon my people. And Native Americans also, and anybody else who was rich enough to own slaves. It's a different thing, man. We're talking about the more blanket understanding of what slavery is. And that's exactly what the IDF is at this point, now that I understand that they don't have a choice not to go. They ain't got no choice. Either you go or you get in prison multiple times. And then they ruin your life, make sure you can't do this, that, and the third. And of course, they're going to put the propaganda on you. They're going to put the whole thing on you, the psychopathic, don't be blamed, but more so feel in love with the eradicating Palestinians. They put that on you for your whole life. And then they send you into being a soldier. So of course, you're going to be demented to the rest of us who ain't been applied that psychopathic propaganda all of our lives. Just brainwashed enough to respect you regardless of what it is that you do. And they cloak it as Jewish, but it's not Jewish because we are told that they're not Jewish. So it's like a confused type of propaganda that we're wrapped up in. We can't say nothing about Jews, we dare not. Jew is not Jewish though. It's code word for Zionists, for which real Jewish people are fighting against. And I'm very happy that they exist and are loud enough for me to see. You know, that's all that is. If they could put on black skin and pretend to be black people, if they thought it would benefit them, they'd do that. But they decided to wear the Jew hat and say they Jews doing all this evil stuff, but not in their name. That's what the real Jews are letting us know. That's what the real people of Judea are telling us. Not in our name. And I respect and appreciate that. But we've been brainwashed in such a way not to necessarily celebrate the eradication of Palestinians, but to never question anybody that raises the Israeli flag. But also, don't speak as if they're in control of everything, even though they literally are. See, they're wearing the Jew hat, so you say to others, hey, Jewish people control everything. No, Zionists control everything. They ain't let real Jews in there at all. They never did. That's what I'm starting to understand. The actual Jewish people, the real people of Judea, they never had no power. It was the Zionists who were wearing their hats that had the power. They were the ones that had control of everything, but you weren't allowed to say they had control of everything while they made sure you knew they had control of everything. It's just confusion. They wanted you to engage in the confusion. That's all it was. So they can nestle very comfortably between being Jewish and not being Jewish while pretending to be Jewish at the same time. See how that works? It doesn't work. That's why it's falling apart. But I understand it now. So like when I see a guy like Kyrie Irving being forced to apologize, or I see a guy like Kanye West being forced to apologize, I understand it's because Zionists who wear Jew hats are telling him not to be anti-Semitic because they're pretending to be Jewish. So therefore, if you hate what they do, they get to say you're being anti-Semitic as a cloak behind not being held accountable because they're obsessed with not being blamed, even though blame isn't necessarily the talking point from which they need to be focused on. But nevertheless, part of being warped into believing that psychology is to be fearful of being blamed. And so therefore, you see how this works? People behind the curtain, we know who you are. That's basically what I have to say. We've been talking about this for several years, and everything is all coming to a head. We're starting to see it. What you did to Kyrie Irving, what you're doing to Kanye West, making Kanye feel like he's the worst person in the world for talking bad about Jews. He was for talking bad about Jews, but not for talking about Zionists. And Zionists are who ultimately was doing what they were doing, who makes up a good portion of the Jews, but not all the Jews, so therefore. So it's very confusing. Now when he apologized to Jews, it looks like he's apologizing to Zionists. But we can separate the two now. That's the difference between any other year before this year. Now we don't look at the Jews as the Jews. We look at the Zionists as the imposters who are pretending to be Jews. It's true. And all of this could get me assassinated, killed, wiped off the internet and all types of different stuff because they definitely do not want to be blamed. But they also want to be held as the most all-powerful because at the end of the day, they want to be able to eradicate children right in your face. And then they immediately will you to not see what you've seen in regards to them doing it. You did not see that. We demand you unlearn what we demand you unsee that. It's like, no, that's not how the brain works, even if we wanted to capitulate to that. It doesn't work like that. We saw it. You must condemn Hamas. No, I don't. I condemn the people who are doing horrible math. Trying to kill 3 people and eradicating 20,000 and do so. You're a bad guy. You're a bad guy to all the people who were not Hamas that you killed. And they don't want to see that. That's not what it is. Hamas did this because they were using them as human shields. Human shields that you're shooting at. You're shooting at those human shields. You know they're there. If they're using human shields, they're using them because they're trying to keep you from shooting. If you don't shoot, then you're the bad guy that's shooting at human beings that don't deserve to be shot at. That logic is something that they won't let in. You're blaming us. Yes, because you've made it upon your mind to kill thousands of innocent people to get 100 people that you think are not innocent. Anywhere else, that's bad. In every video game I've ever played, and I'm just going to go straight to video games. Video games are likely you funded yourself. I am supposed to not shoot the hostages. If I'm going in to get the bad guy, it is imperative. I'm going to lose the game. I'm going to get knocked down off my level if I shoot the hostages. And you're telling me that you're shooting all the hostages. You're supposed to lose the game. But because you're you have the right. And the only thing people keep telling us is they shouldn't have striked. Why shouldn't they have striked if they've been occupied for 75 years? Should they not have tried to at least stop you from occupying their land at any point in time during this process? No. Why? Because we're chosen. I got it. You're crazy. You weren't chosen for anything other than teaching all of us to overcome that for which makes you insane, and apply all that insanity to all of our lives with all of your lies. So that's my year end wrapped up for now, man. I'm pretty sure I'll make another therapy session before this is over. But this is exactly how the year ends for me, man. Talking about that. We're not confused about the people behind the curtain anymore, because we've prayed prayers every single day that the Lord will help us see and bring light to the conversation at hand. And that is exactly what I've been praying for every day, along with praying for the list, praying for the bereaved and everybody. Just asking the Lord to help us understand who's behind that damn curtain. Who's been controlling everything while acting like they don't control everything, but still want to be heralded for controlling everything? Who are these people that have applied such bad propaganda to the minds of Israel people, and applied horrible culture to my people, and investing in the deterioration of our image and ourselves? Who's been keeping all these celebrities silent in the process of all this damn genocide? Who is behind the curtain? Well, now we know. Praise the Lord. BDF 44. I thank you all for watching.